Serve means to be subject to. A servant is the person who serves you with meals and provides other necessary services. A tennis or volleyball serve puts the ball in play, much as a servant puts food on the table. Serviceable: 1. Helpful or useful. 2. Usable. In the attic they found some chairs and a table, which, with a new coat of paint, became quite serviceable for informal get-togethers. Someone who speaks serviceable Spanish isn't fluent in it but gets by pretty well. A serviceable jacket is practical and maybe even rugged. But serviceable sometimes damns with faint praise. A serviceable performance is all right but not inspired. Serviceable curtains aren't the ideal color or pattern, but they serve their purpose. A serviceable pair of shoes is sturdy but won't win you any fashion points. Servile: 1. Suitable to a servant. 2. Humbly submissive. The dog's manner was servile, and it lacked a healthy independence. During the Middle Ages, most of the farming was done by a servile class known as serfs, who enjoyed hardly any personal freedom. This began to change in the 14th century, but the Russian serfs weren't freed until the 1860s, when the servile class in the US was also freed. But servile today usually refers to a personal manner. A person who shows servility usually isn't a servant, but simply seems too eager to please and seems to lack self-respect. Servitude: a state or condition of slavery or bondage to another. She spent an entire summer working at a resort under conditions that felt like utter servitude. Servitude is slavery or anything resembling it. The entire black population of colonial America lived in permanent servitude. And millions of the whites who populated this country arrived in indentured servitude, obliged to pay off the cost of their journey with several years of labor. Servitude comes in many forms, of course. In the bad old days of the British Navy, it was said that the difference between going to sea and going to jail was that you were less likely to drown in jail. Subservient: 1. Serving or useful in an inferior situation or capacity. 2. Slavishly obedient. Many have wondered why Congress always seems subservient to the financial industry, supporting it even when the voters are angrily calling for reforms. Since sub means below, it emphasizes the lower position of the person in the subservient one. Soldiers of a given rank are always subservient to those of a higher rank. This subservience is symbolized by the requirement that they salute their superior at every opportunity. Women have often been forced into subservient relationships with men. A small nation may feel subservient to its more powerful neighbor, obliged to obey even when it doesn't want to. So subservience usually brings with it a good dose of resentment. Clus comes from the Latin claudere, to close. Words based on the Latin verb often have forms in which the D becomes an S. So, for example, include, which once meant to shut up or enclose and now means to contain, has the related word inclusive, which means including everything. Occlusion and obstruction or blockage, the act of obstructing or closing off. The doctors worry that a loosened piece of plaque from the artery wall could lead to an occlusion of a brain artery, resulting in a stroke. Occlusion, formed with the prefix ob-, here meaning in the way, occurs when something has been closed up or blocked off. Almost all heart attacks are the result of the occlusion of a coronary, heart, artery by a blood clot, and many strokes are caused by an occlusion in an artery serving the brain. When a person's upper and lower teeth form a malocclusion, they close incorrectly or badly. An occlusion, or occluded front, happens when a fast-moving cold front overtakes a slow-moving warm front and slides underneath it, lifting the warm air and blocking its movement. Exclusive: 1. Not shared, available to only one person or group, especially those from a high social class. 2. Full and complete. That technology is exclusive to one cell phone manufacturer, but some of the others are dying to use it. In words such as expel, export, and exclusive, the prefix ex means out of, outside. Thus, to exclude means basically to close the door in order to keep someone or something out. When the word appears in an advertisement, it's often making an appeal to snobs. An exclusive offer is supposedly made to only a few people, Not so many years ago, exclusive housing developments excluded those of a certain race or color. If a product is being sold exclusively by one store, you won't be able to find it anywhere else. When a newspaper or news show has an exclusive, it's a story that no one else has yet reported. Exclusive's antonym is inclusive. An inclusive policy, an inclusive church, or an inclusive approach is one that aims to include as many people as possible. Recluse, a person who lives withdrawn from society. The lonely farmhouse was home to a middle-aged recluse, a stooped, bearded man who would never answer the door when someone knocked. Greta Garbo and Howard Hughes were two of the most famously reclusive celebrities of modern times. She had been a great international star, called the most beautiful woman in the world. He had been an aircraft manufacturer and film producer, with one of the greatest fortunes in the world. It seems that Garbo's reclusiveness resulted from her desire to leave her public with only the youthful image of her face. Hughes was terrified of germs, though that was the least of his problems. Seclusion. 1. A screening or hiding from view. 2. A place that is isolated or hidden. The police immediately placed him in seclusion in a hospital room, with armed guards at the door. With its prefix se-apart, seclusion has the basic meaning of a place or condition that's closed away. A lone island may be secluded, and its seclusion might be what its owner prizes most about it. Presidents and their staffs may go into seclusion before making critical decisions. Monastery life is purposely secluded, and monks may have taken vows to live lives of seclusion. The deadly brown recluse spider prefers seclusion but is sometimes disturbed by very unlucky people.